My name is Pam Attardo, and I am the Helena, Lewis and Clark County Heritage Preservation Officer, and I work for a 7-member board called the Heritage Tourism Council, and they are appointed by both the city and the county. We are here today to give awards to 5 winners of the 27th annual Historic Preservation Awards. So this has been going on since 1994, and it was prior to me being here, obviously. And so what we do is we try to recognize every year annually people who have made contributions to historic preservation in both the city and county. So it could be somebody who's fixing up a historic building, like we'll see over at 501, 503 North Rodney Duplex was an example of a rehabilitation, bringing a building back to look like what it did in 1887. Not everything is historic on it, but it looks very much better than it did with its 1978 siding and windows. We also have given awards in the past to people who have written a book, or people who have volunteered in the office. We're also giving an award to a young man, Max Csiro, who worked in the Heritage Tourism Council office for 7 years, starting as a volunteer through Helena Industries and the VA, and wound up as a permanent employee, and just did a phenomenal amount of work, and we are so completely grateful to him for everything that he did. He resigned in July of 2021, and we just wanted to honor him for all that he has done. And we have 5 awards this year, one of them which is being given to Max Csiro. Max was a volunteer, started out as a volunteer in the Heritage Tourism Council office in 2014. He came to our office as a volunteer with Helena Industries and the VA administration's program, and he worked for 6 months in the office, and from there he went to being hired as a temporary employee for the county, and then was eventually hired as a part-time permanent employee. So Max has a total of 7 years that he has worked in our office, and he has just been fantastic. I can't say enough about him, and the Heritage Tourism Council nominated and awarded him this Preservation Award for all his work. Max started out, like I said, in 2014, and we went through the State Historic Preservation Office, all of their records that they had on the Helena Historic District. Max helped to scan all of those that they had. We have a total of over 30,000 documents scanned, and Max is probably responsible for about 3/4 of those. He did wonderful jobs of databases, handling donations to the office of artifacts and photographs. He is definitely the scan man. Just an incredible job. And I wanted to, and also one remarkable thing that Max did is he transcribed handwritten diaries from a ranch, the Gehring Ranch, and there were, I believe, eight diaries.
4 diaries and several papers.
So 4 diaries and lots of papers, and Max did an incredible job of putting those all in, typing them, word processing them into the computer so that they are searchable. And we congratulate you, Max, and would like to present you with this award.
Thank you very much.
Give you an elbow bump. Thank you, Max.
I greatly appreciate it.
This is the 501-503 South Rodney Duplex, and the owners are Patrick Cirillo and Paula Jakes. And I met them in 2020 during the pandemic because they had purchased this house in 2011, and in 2020 they decided to do some work on it. The house had been changed in 1978. The original siding had been replaced or covered over, I should say, with non-historic siding, and the windows had been replaced with casement windows. The house was built in 1887. It was designed by John C. Paulson, and Paulson is very significant. He was he was Montana's state architect, and this was done prior to his being the state architect. He did at least 2 duplexes, just like this one, within South Central, and there are five duplexes that some of them also may be attributable to him, but we're not sure. So what Patrick and Paula did was they removed the non-historic siding, and underneath that they found urea formaldehyde foam insulation. They removed that and put in modern insulation, resided it with a much more sympathetic siding than what was on there originally. And they also replaced all of the windows, which were casements. These are casements, but they are made to look like double hung windows, which would have been what was on this building originally. It's a Queen Anne. And after that, they did all kinds of wonderful things. You can see up here in the gable ends, they used these great shingles to give a contrast to the siding that they have on there. They also had these posts over here, the turn posts on both porches. They had these made by American Porch in Townsend, so locally. And they put on balusters and light fixtures, period reproduction light fixtures on the outside porches. And front doors. They replaced the front doors they were modern front doors, and they replaced them with something that would have been on this house originally. And they also replaced the brackets, which were missing on these little windows that are behind you. You can see there's 4 brackets on each side, and they put a little inverted fitting, this great little acorn, and it looks fantastic. And I really wanted to, and the Heritage Tourism Council really wanted to recognize them for their work. They really went over and above what they needed to. And they did a great job. And I just wanted to say congratulations to you both and present you with this certificate. Today we are giving a preservation award to the building that is right next to me. This is the old liquor block. And I would like to introduce members of the Heritage Tourism Council, for whom I am staff. Right behind me we've got Sandy Smith, Tom O'Connell, Jen Veith, and Chris Averill. There are some members who were not able to attend, but I'm grateful for those who did. And today we're going to talk about the award that's being given to the old liquor, what was once the old liquor warehouse, and that's why the name is now the old liquor block. So the blueprints for this building were developed in about 1935. The old liquor warehouse was built around 1936. Prior to that, it was located in a warehouse in the 6th Ward on Bozeman Street. So sometime around 1935, there was discussion about moving the warehouse to a new site, possibly the old Nabisco building, which is still part of it is still standing in the 6th Ward, or to another location. But the 1935 earthquakes around the mid and end of October did away with those plans because the existing liquor warehouse was demolished, or very badly damaged, so that it had to be demolished. So this was the next plan, was this building to be built here. At the time this building was built, this was still the Great Northern Railroad yard. So you had an owned underpass that was over there on the north side of the building. That was torn down and replaced in 1935, and the building was sited about 50 feet from where that overpass would have been. And so there was a rail line that ran behind this building that you see before us. Now it's what we know as the Great Northern Town Center, but there was a spur line that ran so that liquor could be unloaded in the loading dock behind the building. So the architect for this building was named Norman Decay. He was part of Hugen and Decay Architects, and they designed the building originally to be built out of unreinforced brick. That was revised once the earthquakes hit. It was built with a concrete foundation and concrete walls, and then a brick veneer. The bricks that you see on the building here are from the Western Clay Manufacturing Company. We know it as the Archie Bray now. And there's something interesting about these bricks, is that every so often on the bricks you'll see this little, like a little blob of what looks like green glass. And we have figured out that this was from the firing process on these bricks. Salt was added to the kilns, and then natural silica that was contained in the clay would form this green glaze, and when it dried, it would look like a splotch of glass. So you'll see a few of these around on the building, on the bricks around the building, although the majority of them don't contain it. So in 1978, so the liquor warehouse was here up until about 1978, when the state moved it over to a facility on Airport Road. And the state print and mail services moved into this building. So then in 2016, the building was part of a land swap. So D&M Development LLC entered into a land swap. They traded a building over by the airport for the old armory in this building. And then this building was redeveloped into an alternative use into offices. So currently, as you see the building, it does not have a liquor in it anymore officially, but it has SMA Architects in it, as well as SoFi. And you'll note by the new entry behind me that is where the entry is now. The original entry to this building is on the north side, and if you go over to that side, you can see the old liquor warehouse, old state liquor warehouse sign is still there, embedded into the brick. So SMA Architects in 2016 designed what you see behind me. The windows on the first level here were replaced with what look like loading bays. So to give light, natural light to the tenant space that is in there, SMA occupies this space that you see right over here immediately to my left. And SoFi is upstairs. There is a basement as well. And what's very interesting about the interior of the building is that it was a warehouse. So it was concrete, and it was punctuated by large square columns every so often. And the people who worked here like to write graffiti on them and spray stencils on them. So you'll see different places where the liquor was going to, like Butte or Miles City or other places like that, stenciled on all of these columns. And SMA decided to leave all of that in place in their space. So it's very interesting to go in there. It's a very usable space, a big open office space, a couple of glassed offices for the principals. Great use of the space. Very good adaptive reuse. And I wanted to just comment on the entry here, which is very easily recognizable as a new addition. It wasn't tried, and there was no attempt to make it look like it was old, so that you can easily note that it is not original to the building. And for these reasons, we wanted to recognize both D&M Development LLC, which is Dick Anderson and Marcus Bonda, for their forward thinking about this building, and SMA for its design of the building. And so I would like to call up Dick Anderson to accept this award. Congratulations, Dick.
I'm allowed up now.
Pardon?
I'm allowed up here.
Yes, now you are.
Now's the time.
and congratulations, and
Oh,
thank
well,
you
thank
very
you.
much for your wonderful foresight on this building.
Well, it's fun to be able to improve buildings in Helena because of the history of it, and there's so many great historic buildings around here. I think we have the best historic buildings in Helena in the entire state. Some places might not agree. Butte might not agree, but I think we do, and so it's been fun. We've gotten to do quite a few historic projects over the years. So I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And we wanted to acknowledge Mark, Jason, and Carly for your
Looks like we'll have to get this fixed.
oh, you know, it's
Yeah. We'll give that to you, absolutely.
thank you very much. And would you like to say some words?
Well, it was a great fun project for us to work on, and we were so excited to take a suite in it. The historic nature of the building was just there's so much character, so much history within it, and we were really excited to be a part of preserving it and continuing its use. It's really a very strong, very stout building, and it should be here for decades and decades to come. So
We
yeah.
hope so.
Yeah.
Congratulations, all of you,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for your dedication to this building. We're here today to give an award to the home behind me, the Duplex 721, 723 Holter. And I have two members from the Heritage Tourism Council with me as well, Tom O'Connell and Jen Beath. And we're going to give an award here today to Steve Faraday and Tony Wilson. And also one of the contractors who worked on the home, Dan Bossel of Wood, Earth, and Stone. He's not here today, so the owners will be accepting the award for him. HTC members have been watching the progress of this duplex for the past few years. When Steve and Tony first bought it, both units were rentals, so it's a duplex, and it was in rough shape. The exterior porch had been replaced at some point with a modern substitute, and the entire exterior was covered with stucco and painted white. Historic details inside were still intact, but some of the exterior details had been obliterated. Steve told me that interior historic details survived by neglect, meaning original plaster, floors, doors, and windows. They live on one side of the duplex and they have a tenant on the other. And they started remodeling the house with the kitchen and then pulled up carpets and refurnished the floors. They contacted the Helena as she was editor Ken Baird to see if he had a photo of the house, a historic photo of the house, and they were able to get a distant shot that was taken down the hill on Holter, and so that is what they used to base the porch that you see behind me here. So it was very difficult to see the detail because it was a long distance shot, but they basically settled on details, the balusters and posts that would have been used at the time. They also did, they had two or three remaining storm windows. You'll see the big storm windows with a cross on it there with the 4 panes. Those are exterior storm windows, and they push out, and inside there's a double hung window with 2 panes that go up and down. And so using those as a template, they had custom storms built, like the red ones that you see behind me here, and made for the house. And they were actually made in Missouri and shipped here and assembled, and then the glass put in once they got here. They've done a spectacular job on this building, and that is why we chose them for the Historic Preservation Award. They have followed the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, which say to save whatever you can. If you can't, make a copy of it that's almost exact. And so they have done an exemplary job with this home. So, like I said, they removed stucco from the entire exterior of the house, and they hired Dan Bossel of Wood, Earth, and Stone to rebuild the porch. He also installed some of the siding. Some of the original siding was still on the building, and where it was missing, they were able to get a custom milled siding made to match the original that was on there. They built a small addition in the rear. It's a mudroom for their tenant. And they had paint analysis done. Paint analysis is a rather costly process to hire a chemist who specializes in this and can tell you through paint chips that are on the existing siding what the color of the house was. And so these colors are based on the original. And what Steve told me is that the trim color is a little off, but the siding is accurate. They had some issues with the paint. And Steve also researched the families who were in this house. It was built in 1889 by a pastor and his wife from Missouri. They were the Reverend George and Ida Berry, B-E-R-R-Y. Berry was a pastor at the First Christian Church on Power Street, and they were only in Helena briefly, and then they moved on to Portland, Oregon. Ellen Baumler did some research on the house too, and it's in one of her haunted house books. This is called The Hidden History of Helena, Montana. It's by John Axline and Ellen Baumler, and there has been paranormal activity in this house. I'll let you read it in the book. I won't go through it here, but some unusual sounds and things in the house. So I want to celebrate the work that these folks have done in giving them a Historic Preservation Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Or do we just whatever you want to do? Thank you. Congratulations. And if you'd like to say something about, yes, and we've got an award for Dan as well here that the owners are accepting. If either of you want to say something.
It's just been a long process, but we've just appreciate the neighborhood, and just, it's just a lot of work, but worth it. So.
You've done a wonderful job. Thank you. Thank you for your dedication. This house behind us is 802 Madison. It's the Seligman house, owned by Tim Coulter and Samantha Sanchez. And I want to tell you a little bit about the garage, which they added on here just in this past year. So I'm going to be giving 3 awards to the owners as well, to architect Anna Lindstrand, and to the builder Connor Building and Design. So I want to tell you a little bit about this house first, its history. It's the Seligman house, Albert J. Seligman. He came to Helena in 1881 when he was 22 years old, and he was here to oversee the J.W. Seligman and Company mining firm. He was a member of the Seligman family of New York City, and he was the owners of one of the largest banking firms in the country. He was trained as an engineer in Germany and Belgium. He built this 22-room house behind us in 1886, right before he married Lizzie Glazier in New York City on December 22nd, 1886. The house was designed by Cass Gilbert, an internationally known architect very early in his career. Later, Gilbert was also the architect for the Northern Pacific Railroad Depot, which is in the 6th Ward in Helena, as well as Helena's second Montana Club, after the first building burned in 1903. Seligman chaired the committee that was in charge of building the Montana Club, and he managed and invested in mines. He stayed here for about just short of 20 years in Helena, and then he returned to New York to join his family's banking business in 1899. He died there in 1935. The house was sold to a Helena physician, Dr. Landstrom, and then in 1912, and in 1938 the house was remodeled into 4 apartments. Over to my other side here to the west is a blue home, which is a private home now, but it was initially the carriage house for the Seligman house. So that left Tim and Sam without a garage for about 31 years because they bought this house in 1990. And so finally in 2020 they began building this beautiful garage that you see behind us. At the time that Tim and Sam purchased the home, it had 3 apartments, and Tim immediately transformed the third floor, which was the 3rd apartment, into his home office, and they had another 2 apartments that they kept until another 2 to 5 years, and finally transformed it into a single-family house. And they did a lot of work on the interior. We won't be going inside today, but that's another story. A very good job inside. So they started work on this in 2020, and they hired, like as I said, architect Anna Lindstrand to design, and Connor Building and Design as the contractor. Since this original carriage house was no longer available, this was going to be their new garage. And you can see behind me, they did an excellent job of, you can hardly tell that this was not here. There's a beautiful cedar wood door in the front that you can put, it's a 2-car garage, you can put 2 cars in it. It has matching siding to the original. The windows are matching to the house as well, and for the roof, he did something unique. They chose a product called Cedar, C-E-D-U-R. It is a faux shake that is non-combustible, so it's not going to catch on fire any too soon. So it was a wonderful job done on this garage, and we want to really celebrate all of those who were involved. And I'd first like to call up Tim and Sam to accept their award. Congratulations.
Thank you, Pam.
Congratulations, Sam. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
I don't know what I can say other than the fact that it's been wonderful to be the caretaker of this place.
And that 33 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time, but we feel like it's community property in so many ways, and that we're just living in it while we take care of it. And we're very pleased with this award, and we thank Kevin Connor and Anna Lindstrand and Tom, who did so much of the work on the garage. It was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks. Thank you. Our next award would be to Anna Lindstrand, the architect. Congratulations, Anna.
Thank you. So nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I don't have to say that.
Nope,
No?
you don't. If you'd like to pose for with your certificate,
Awesome.
there we go. And our third award is for the builder, which would be Connor Building and Design. And this is Tom. Please come forward, Tom, to accept your award.
And I'm Kevin.
Kevin and Kevin, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
I think it's important to acknowledge people who have gone above and beyond to preserve our history, either through putting it down in writing in a book or in a movie or in a video, or from the work that they have done either as a volunteer or as an employee. You know, in the past we have recognized volunteers one volunteer in particular who she digitized all of the county maps that were in the clerk and recorder's office. This took her 2 years, and I think when people step forward and do something like that, particularly as a volunteer, it really has to be acknowledged and celebrated, because a lot of times the significance is that if these things hadn't been digitized, they might have been lost. You know, you never know if there's going to be an earthquake, or if there's going to be not necessarily a flood here, but a broken pipe that could destroy these documents. And now we have them digitally as well as in you know, the actual paper document. But it's just, I think that it's good to recognize people, because they are putting things into a better state for posterity. And it's just, it's a very good feeling, I think, as somebody who does something like this, to be recognized for it. And so this is our way of showing our admiration, our appreciation for everything that they have done.